up next, with a story about a hike up a mountain and the kindness of strangers from Canaan, New York. Please welcome Paula Kaplan-Reiss.
So it's August 3rd, 2019, which is a good 6 months or so before the pandemic, maybe longer. And my mother has died in Florida. And I and my brothers had spent a week prior to that with her in the hospital in Florida. And because it was before the pandemic, we were all able to be with her. And we were able to say goodbye and say our last words to her. And it was an incredibly painful time because there's no one other than my immediate family who I was closer to in my life. And it was a huge loss. So August 10th, a week later, we decided to come up to our house in the Berkshires. We left Florida, we went to New Jersey where our home was, and we also had a home in the Berkshires. We decided to come up to the Berkshires and really spend a day taking a hike. Afterwards, we were planning on going to a show. It's just gonna be a beautiful day to sort of relax and chill out. And so we decided to go to Monument Mountain in Great Barrington. I don't know if other of you know that mountain. It's a beautiful mountain. And we've hiked it before. And it's not a really difficult hike, but it's a beautiful hike. So my husband and I go up this mountain and we're taking in the scenery, and we get to the top and it's beautiful boulders, and you'll see in the program, the picture of me in the program is me on top of Monument Mountain. And it's, as I said, it's beautiful, and really enjoying and seeing people up there and dogs and children and everybody's up there. I come to in a hospital, and I look up, and my husband, I must have said something like, "Oh, I'm with my mom," because I'm in a hospital, right? And I've just been with my mom, and I'm like, you know, here with my mom, and my husband turns to me and says, "No, your mom died, remember?" And I thought to myself, "Oh yeah, that's right, I do remember." He said, "You fell off Monument Mountain 4 days ago." And I went, "I don't remember that, you know, at all." And he said, "Yeah, and you're in Albany Medical Center." And I went, "Albany Medical Center? I was born in Albany Medical Center." That's the last time I was there. And so it's quite a while ago. And he said, "Yeah," he said, he goes, I turned around, we were on the top of the mountain, we were about to go down, and I turned around and I'm calling Paula. I don't see you, like, "Paula, where are you?" And no answer. Needless to say, everybody on the mountain hears him yelling, "Paula, Paula," and everybody is immediately getting on their phones because they know this is not a good story. And they're all looking, and apparently when you look from the top of the mountain in the summer, it's all brush, so you can't like see down and see where I could be, and I'm not responding. Well, there was an 18-year-old boy, Henry. I call him my hero, Henry. Henry was hiking that mountain with his mom. And he had hiked that mountain many times. And when he saw that nobody knew where I was, he turned to his mother and he said, "I'm going to find her." And he did. Apparently I don't know how he knew where to go, but he knew. Within 20 minutes, he found me. He said he saw me on like a cliff, like hanging, I don't know, near an edge of a cliff, like I could have kept going, and I'm moaning. And he's, you know, and I'm not unconscious, but I'm sort of moaning, and calls my name because He knows my name. He's heard everybody screaming my name. He calls my name, and he finds me, and he comes to me, and he's able to call on his phone to the emergency people, and they were able to figure out with their phones, I guess, where I was, to let them know where I was. So I'm saying, you know, asking what happened to me? And he goes, well, you broke 10 ribs, your clavicle, which is here. Some of these things I had to know what they were. He said your tibia and your fibula, which is down here, which was a compound fracture, and that I had surgery a couple of days ago to insert a titanium rod in my leg, and I had a bad concussion, which explains why I don't remember anything. My brother, who happens to be a neurologist, he got to the hospital and watched the helicopter land. And as I'm hearing this story, it sounds like an episode of ER or Grey's Anatomy, you know, like the helicopter and the whirling and, you know, anyway. So I'm listening to this, and it's really hard to believe that all of this has happened to me and that I remember nothing. And last I remember, I'm on top taking a lovely picture on top of Monument Mountain. So I say to my husband, I need to call this Henry. I need to thank him for saving my life. I mean, that's unbelievable. Like, he saved my life. So he has his number, I call him up. Henry is delighted to know I'm alive and to hear from me. And I thank him and tell him how grateful I am that I'm still alive, and it was all because of him. And so I'm amazed. I spent 10 days in the hospital, which was a long time, and remember that I had spent a week in the hospital with my mother, you know, while she was dying. So I've had a lot of the hospital, and at that point, I'm really trying to process what has happened to me. From the hospital, I was sent to rehab because I couldn't walk, I couldn't do much, and I couldn't use crutches because I broke all my ribs. Anyway, so they wanted to send me to rehab. I get to rehab, and I'm looking around, and I say to my husband, I'm just not staying here. I just can't be in this kind of setting anymore. I'll go home, I'll get a lot of physical therapy. I have to grieve my mother. My mother died. I haven't even had time to process that, no less than I almost died. So I get home, I do a lot of physical therapy, and within a few months, I'm really back to pretty good shape. I get back to the gym, I'm pretty active, I like to work out, and I like to dance, and I like to play tennis, and I do all these things, and who knew if I was going to get back to do any of those things, which I really did, which is amazing to me, because what's also amazing is that I didn't break my head or my neck, or I'm not paralyzed, I'm alive. It's all hard to believe. So then, I hear about an organization called the Carnegie Hero Foundation. And the Carnegie Foundation is a really amazing organization that's quite old, that's been around since, I believe, the 1800s. And they reward, as one of many things they do, but they reward people who risk their lives to try and save others. And these can't be EMTs or fire people or any of those people. They have to be people who are just like you and I, who are willing. Not all of us are willing to risk our lives to save others, but just regular people. And so I thought to myself, who deserves this award more than my hero Henry, my 18-year-old hero Henry? So I decide to nominate him, and I fill out all the paperwork, and I hear from the foundation, and they say that they're going to investigate this case, and it takes them almost a year to investigate a case before they reward somebody with a medal, and it's a cash award, and they do all sorts of amazing things for the family if you win. So then it's the pandemic. Then we move up here for good, and we sell our house in New Jersey, and I'm still, again, grieving my mother, and still taking in all these people who are just, everybody's looking at me like, how did you live? I mean, I really was like, people were just sort of amazed by this story. And I'm amazed because this unbelievable thing has happened to me, and I can't remember any of it. But I'm hearing all this stuff, and I know that this is a time when first responders, we're starting to hear the word first responders, but when this happened to me, we weren't using that word all the time, but I had a first responder that needed to be thanked. And I went to the fire chief in Great Barrington, Chief Charlie Berger, and I went to him and I thanked him, and he had organized 50 people in my rescue. And I was just so eager for people to be acknowledged for all that they've done, to help me survive. So sure enough, Henry wins. And again, I'm thinking to myself, I've had some horrible things happen in my life. I've had infertility and pregnancy loss, and I've had difficulties in child rearing, and I've also had breast cancer. And there are a lot of people in the world who've had those kinds of things in their lives, and they've happened to them. But I don't know anybody who's fallen off a mountain, and I don't know anybody, there's no support group, and I don't know anybody who's lived to tell the story. But this is a story that needs to be told because we need to thank the people that enabled me to survive. So, as I said, he won the award. And I said to Henry, if I'm going up with you, back up that mountain with my family, with your family. And we also went up with an editor from the Berkshire Eagle. they were taking note of this big event, and it was in December of COVID, so we were outside, so it was a little safer. And we go up that mountain, and I'm looking around going, this is a steep mountain. And like, how did I live? And Henry's showing me where he went to find me, and it was just all too good to be true. And I went up on the top of that mountain, and sure enough, gave him, was there to present him with that medal. And he was, even though I had been with him for 5 hours, I had no memory of ever meeting him, so it was great to meet him and see how humble he was and what a wonderful human being he was. And so I gave him that award, and it was an incredible full circle moment with my family and with his. So it really goes to show you that, we've seen in the past few years, that more than the past few years, but there are a lot of horrible people in this world. We've seen that. But there are some amazing people in this world. And those are the people that we need to recognize, take note of, and acknowledge. So sure enough, about a few weeks ago, I went to a wedding. And I'm on the dance floor, and I'm dancing, and I'm enjoying, and really having a great time. It's a wedding. And this woman came up to me and said, aren't you the one that fell off the mountain and broke like 1,000,000 bones? I said, yeah. I healed